field blast off, watch them all fall. This is AFC North Talk. Got me hype, it's about to be a touchdown. Got the Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, and the Browns. Are you listening? It's time to get it hype. Tune in when the season poppin'. Yeah, we going live. Hey, knock 'em out. Ay, first down, going hard. Yes, indeed. AFC North Talk. Let's go. Hey, AFC North Talk.
Yo, welcome. Another edition AFC North coming from our break. Shout out to everybody that is here live. Shout out to everybody that's going to be watching the replay. Hey, it was a nice break. I miss y'all fellas. It went crazy free agency, and I cannot wait to hear these takes. But I think, by the way, there's a poll out there right now.
Hey, Sonny, I got a question for you.
Yes.
How do you feel about the Ravens losing their best linebacker in free agency?
I knew it was coming.
How are you going to fill the void of that playmaking ability? Is Trenton Simpson going to step up,
Your
or
boy.
are you expecting more from Roquan Smith?
Roquan is fine, but yes, Trent Simpson will fill that void. We'll be talking about each and every one of these teams. Remember,
Mike linebacker will lead the team in downfield tackles yet again.
Well, the Mike linebacker is free to do more. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have as much responsibilities. Mm-hmm. But we're gonna be talking about all four teams. There's a poll out there on the chat right now, so go make sure you vote. Who's winning the free agency so far? We're gonna start with the Browns because I think of all four teams, right? Not dismissing the Browns, but the Browns they signed the lease, if I'm not mistaken. Correct you. I know you guys traded for Judy. That started this, right? When people were I saw some people bashing the trade, and I was like, Judy is kind of expensive for the production money-wise.
Not really. 12 million?
I mean, but he hasn't done much, but
he's almost at like 800 yards. Marquez Valdez-Scantling goes for like 22. So
there's stupid money, but the 5th and 6th round pick, that's nothing. What are we talking about? Like, people are like, oh, they can't believe they traded like a 5th and a 6th. What are you talking about? That's nothing. I think it's a great pair. The thing, I remember when Judy was coming out of that draft, I compare him to your other receiver coming out of that draft, right? But I'm curious for you, and I know your D-line came back, right? The Harrison and Cedarius Smith.
Pretty much everybody, yeah.
Yeah, everybody else is coming back. And but other than Judy, who else did the Cleveland added? Nobody else, right?
They added like some periphery pieces, like a Hakeem Adeniji. It's gonna be like a backup. Got it.
I
was talking about that. I was like, I was like, Hakeem, why do I know that name? Like, oh, I've heard Ace complain about him for like 2 years straight. Like, I can hear the tone of it too. I was like, Hakeem Adeniji. I mean, I guess.
Hey, Q, I thought they picked up Jordan Hicks too.
Yeah, Jordan Hicks. They picked him up. And then my guy, Jamos Winston. Yeah. J Boo wins number 5. By the way, most hilarious number 1 overall pick that was like unanimously number 1 overall pick.
Nobody questioned it.
No, it was like Andrew Luck levels.
Yep. Yeah.
People forget that about Jameis. I'm like, that's one of those things where if you have a young person in your life and you ask them about Jameis Winston and what they think of him, and then you remind them that this dude was that guy coming out of college, it is hilarious. Like, what?
Well, what he did in college, it worked in college, right? Because he's a gunslinger. He ain't afraid. Jason Winston ain't afraid of nothing. But in the NFL, that can get you in trouble.
Well, he got,
but it's never boring with him.
Well, he got LASIK, and 3 years post-op is when you really start to get that perfect vision going.
That's what it is. But anyway, let me hear your take on Judy. What do you think Judy's gonna add to this offense?
Yeah, so Judy's gonna be the slot receiver, right? He's gonna take about 60% of his snaps in the slot. Amari's going to take probably 30. Elijah Moore is going to take 10. They're going to move them all around as much as possible. They're going to do trips formation. But it gives him a third wide receiver to really be able to use. His production is not up to what you would expect given the hype that he had coming out of college. He was number one in a very loaded receiving class, but it's not been terrible, right? Like he's had like 700, 800, 9. Like these are Marquise Brown numbers pretty much, right? Like back end of the first round type numbers. So they're hoping they could put him in a better situation. Maybe the mentorship with somebody who is very close to him, and Amari Cooper is something that can help. Or maybe just watching Amari Cooper in practice can help him, given that they have very similar styles and prospects coming out of college. They'll see what happens. I think they feel like, hey, if this works out and Jerry Jeudy's good, we know we got to move on from Amari Cooper after this year. And we're going to have Jerry Jeudy replace that. And then hopefully Elijah Moore steps up. And then our tandem can be Elijah Moore, Cedric Tillman, and Jerry Jeudy going forward as they try to get younger at wide receiver. And for this year, it's going to be Elijah Moore, Jerry Jeudy, and Amari Cooper. You also have David Njoku in that mix. So I think it's a good room. If you put him in the slot where he doesn't have to fight the press, I think he'll be fine. Also, I think he's a wide receiver that will work well with Deshaun Watson. They're moving towards a more wide receiver choice type offense where wide receivers going to have more option routes, right? Deshaun Watson is a post processor, kind of similar to Joe Burrow, or Lamar's not really a post processor. I think people just kind of throw him in there because he can run, but he's somebody who really excels pre-snap. But he's somebody who sees it, gets it there, throws it to that window. And that's the kind of offense I think Jerry Jeudy will thrive in. So, it's low risk. You got it with basically what you traded Baker Mayfield for and what came with the Deshaun Watson trade. $12 million for a wide receiver now is pretty cheap. I mean, I think the Jets are still paying Corey Davis $12 million or something like that, even though he's retired, right? So it's really not that much money for him. We'll see what happens with him going forward. But if it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, then it's pretty low risk. You only wasted a 5th and 6th round pick on it. And in a draft where you weren't really likely to select outside of 137 or something like that, because I don't think the Browns have a big draft board this year.
How many picks do you guys have now? A second and a third?
We have 2nd, 3rd, 5th, and 6th and 2 7s.
Okay. I said what I think. Look, I agree with you. I think he goes to the slot. I saw some people talking maybe to push Amari to the slot. I think he pushed Jeudy to the slot. I think maybe the pressure not being a number one receiver, although over there it was Courtland Sutton. Maybe the change of scenery will do him good. Also, when is the best time to get any player? Let's be honest. In his contract year that he's about to or wants to get paid, right? That's when the player usually excels the most, and that's where the Browns got Jeudy. I thought it was a great trade. I'm here like, damn, like 5th and a 6th. I wish the Ravens would have done a 5th and a 6th for Jeudy. I would take a Jeudy right now. But Ace, J-Rock, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think for me, it's a great move for the Browns. They needed a second receiver. To me, it's an upgrade from DPJ, potentially just because, Jerry Jeudy's a bigger name. He's a guy that's, done some things in this league. He hasn't lived up to the hype. However, I think he, in Cleveland's offense, could be deemed either, possibly the 3rd or 4th option, because I look at it as you've got Amari Cooper, you got David Njoku, and then you got Elijah Moore, or you could go with Jerry Jeudy there. So to me, he's a major guy in this offense. And as you stated, Sonny, he's in a contract year. This kid's only 24. Like, I don't think we should write him off like somebody that, is washed yet. He could be similar to me, kind of like Sammy Watkins, right? Like Sammy Watkins didn't live up to the hype, but Sammy Watkins was still a decent receiver, especially if he's able to be a complimentary receiver. So I think for them in the situation that they're in, I think it's a low risk, high reward type move. Obviously, he's had like kind of locker room, quote unquote, issues. He kind of went back and forth with Steve Smith and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's a risk where it's like he's going to be a cancer in the locker room or anything like that. So I think it's low risk, high reward. I think that is possibly a better move than what they did last year with Elijah Moore. And now they have 3 receivers there that are legit that you have to kind of account for. So I think it's a good move for them. And I wasn't aware, like Quincy said, that Amari is going into the last year of his deal. So dependent upon how Judy goes, you could have somebody that you could extend immediately to kind of be there as the future wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2. So I think it's a good move for them.
Go ahead, J-Rock.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, just to kind of piggyback. I don't think if you're a Browns fan, you're mad at the acquisition, at the deal. I think it's a good move to kind of get Jerry Jeudy in there, at least let him mix it up with Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore and the boys, and get them mixing it up with that option that they have as far as like the opening up with the receivers and how they playing now. So I mean, I think it's a good pickup for the Browns with them moving forward with how they doing things. And like I said, like if I was a Browns fan, I wouldn't be mad, especially with a 5th and 6th.
Yeah. Also, I think, and with this, we can move to the next team. One thing that the Browns are also doing is not giving Deshaun Watson weapons. Right? He has 2. Amari Cooper was a good receiver. Let's go Jerry Jeudy as of right now, an above average receiver, right? Like he is definitely not a bum. Even right now, he will be wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3 in a lot of teams, right? So, and then you still have Njoku there, and you have Chubb coming back. That's the running back, right? So there's weapons out there. I think now the Browns can concentrate and to fix some of the O-line mishaps that they thought, the holes that they might think they have and where they can put better players. But that offense right now, at least for Deshaun Watson, is looking, hey, you have receivers. You have Elijah Moore still out there, right? Elijah Moore is still with the team, right? Yep. So you have 3 receivers. They are good receivers, plus you have your tight end that is a good tight end, Njoku, plus your running back. There's weapon for Watson. So any last words, Q?
DJ Reader, come to Cleveland. You know it's real. You know what you need to do. You know what you need to do, DJ. Come on north. Take that ride at the turnpike and get right to the lake. Can't be hanging by that river no more, dog. I need you by this lake.
He on his way to the D. He on his way to the D tomorrow.
Hey, 3 hours away, baby. We gonna fly the jet. Half an hour, right over that lake. Come on down, DJ. We got.
Is he visiting Dallas?
No, he's visiting Detroit.
He's visiting the Lions tomorrow. But the Browns, the Lions, the Bengals, and I think it's another team.
Hey, DJ. All I would say is this.
They're all interested in.
All I would say is this. There is nobody on the Lions that's going to get a triple team on their defensive line, which that's going to free you up to get 2-way goals and eat. We got this dude named Myles Garrett. We just brought back Za'Darius. It's going to be nothing but space for you, dog. You're going to feel like you at edge. It's going to be so much room in the middle of that defense for you, big dog, right here. And we got help. You ain't even got to take that many snaps. You can get on the field when you want. We got Mo Hurst. We got Shelby Harris. We going to rotate all that in there, dog. Come on, big fella. Come on to Cleveland. Come on to Cleveland, dog. I've been waiting for this. I've been talking about DJ Reader for like 2.5 years.
DJ Reader's nice. Okay, so before I go to Super Chats, the poll right now has the Browns leading with 30%, but it's tight. Ravens 27, Steelers 24, Bengals 19.
The Ravens will win that one because everybody been hyping up the Derrick Henry signing.
Well, we'll talk about it soon. Okay, so we have a couple Super Chats. Ray Rag here says, it was nice to see Steelers fan hyping themselves up with Wilson highlights from this decade.
Haters gonna hate.
We're gonna be talking about that. We're gonna be talking about that.
Haters gonna hate.
Silent Wolf says, "We back, baby, go Browns."
There was a clip in that highlight package of Russell Wilson choking out a head coach. I was like, oh, and I wasn't even cooked Gerard Mayo. I was like, Gerard Mayo was still kind of nice in 2013.
Should have had him in there choking out Sean Payton the way he was talking to him on that sideline.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Mike Tomlin and Russell Wilson. Boy, I think that's going to be a good dynamic between the two of them.
Sprinkle Pickens.
Might be.
See, look, I think George Pickens actually going to get along because George kind of like chaos and Russ is chaotic. So I don't think George going to be the one that got the issue with him. It's gonna be
That's why we had to. That's why we had to get rid of Deontay. That's
Deontay would have stolen. Yes, yeah. You had to get rid of Deontay, right? You know who gonna be mad at him? Najee. That's who not gonna like Russ, right? Najee like to be with the team and be together and all that. And Russ be like called by assistant. If you
Najee better get his stuff together when he out of here.
No, the one that's not gonna like him is Muth. Because I think Muth is a good tight end, and Russell, I think he hates the tight ends. I think he hates them. Noah Fan didn't do nothing.
Russ don't know the middle of the field exists anymore, dog. Like, Luke will just be standing out there running cardio. Hey, George Pickens gonna love Russ because Russ is gonna throw that shit deep to George every play.
He ain't gonna have no choice but to like him. He run this Arthur Smith system.
That's also another one. Arthur Smith gonna hate Russ, and Russ gonna hate Arthur Smith, and it's gonna be interesting to see how that battle goes down. Like, whoo, and Mike will be tired. I wouldn't be surprised if Arthur Smith and Russ aren't gone by the trade deadline.
I mean, Russ doesn't cost them anything, so they can definitely.
Yeah. I mean, Russ gonna stay.
And Mike good to just be like, you know what, dog, it ain't working.
Yeah.
You ain't my guy. Like,
Rayback here says at least none of us just paid 29-year-old. He's that old.
Calvin really got signed.
4 year, 92 mil. But I didn't know he was that old.
Ruins
50 million guaranteed.
50?
50 million guaranteed.
The Jaguars?
No, the
Titans.
The Titans. How are the Titans signing all these players? Like, I don't get it.
Because
he did get signed.
Don't forget they ended up signing the offensive coordinator as their head coach. So it's a new head coach over there. So with that happening, they're getting rid of older players and bringing in new players.
Because they signed a bunch of defensive players too.
And they signed
it's somebody who has lived through 20 years of a mediocre franchise being super mediocre. Let me tell you what happens. Every once in a while, you got to tell the fans you're doing something. Right, or else people stop caring. Right, we gonna sign Paul Kruger. Right, you gotta tell them we doing something, or else people stop buying them season tickets. That's what the Titans doing. They got no quarterback. They don't believe in Will Levis, right?
They got Mason Rudolph now.
Oh, that's
exactly.
Right.
They're just doing shit, right? Like that. Let's just sign somebody. Mason Rudolph was good last year, right? Like they're just doing stuff. Like look at their signings. It don't make no sense. They're just signing names. This is peak. Okay. Our fan base is kind of low on morale. Let's just do a bunch of shit, right? Don't be surprised if they do a bunch of weird draft stuff to draft all the players you know. Like they're a peak team to draft like Brendan Rice. We all know who Brendan Rice is, but we all know he ain't really that good. But that's who they're the team that's going to do something like that. They're not going to just be low key. They're desperately trying to get people to care.
Diddy here says, "Welcome back, fellas. Thank you more for Geno stuff. We'll be talking about Geno too." And then Great Flow here says Judy is a jack, as Steve Smith said. Not concerned.
Hey, Great Flow, I hope you're not a Raven fan because that could be true. Jerry Judy could be just the guy. He would also be competing for the number 1 receiver spot for the Baltimore Ravens. So, like,
not definitely number 1, but definitely number 2.
Hey, well, you got Mr. Fumble the touchdown away in his way. I don't know. I don't know how year 2 going to be for Mr. Fumble the touchdown away.
We'll see.
2 times.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, he definitely crapped a bit in that moment. Okay, since I was gonna pivot to the Ravens, but we're gonna pivot to the Steelers since we already started alluding to the Russell Wilson. So we got Russell Wilson, we got Patrick Queen, right? Those are the 2 major moves, unless I'm missing any other moves. They might have more minor moves, but I thought those were the 2 major moves that they made. I'm gonna start with this. Look, and the Russell Wilson side, I actually think it was a good sign because it's costing you 1.25, and if this dude starts pulling some shit, you can say, you know what, out. I don't care. Go. Right? Because of the money, it's the reason why I don't think it's a bad pickup. If he would have cost you anything, I'd be like, what are you doing? But money-wise, you had nothing to lose. It's a 1-year deal. You can say, yo, I don't like your attitude. I don't like none of this. Second, you're probably going to get Russ' best attitude, I would think, if he really wants to be part of this league going forward. On the PQ, for me, it was funny. I got to lie, it was funny. Because, and shout out to my boy Tony, because Tony quickly said to us, like, I always love PQ. We're talking about Patrick Queen getting burned by the Steelers fan base. Burned as he was trash. And look, what I think about Patrick Queen, I like the guy. Like personally, I like how he talks, his demeanor. Big fan of him. Sad to see him go. I knew he was leaving last year. I knew he was leaving this year. He got less money than he wanted. So money wise, I thought it was a good deal for the Steelers. Money wise, I thought really good for the talent they're getting. My whole thing with PQ is that he definitely, you can see the shift from when Roquan came to now. The hope I'm seeing from the Steelers, and my hope, because I like the player, is that he learned, right? He took those 2 years for him to learn under Roquan, and then he can take that step. Because he's going to be there to lead of the middle linebacking core for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's not like he's coming there to be the other guy like he was in Baltimore, and that he can just play freely, right? That's all Patrick King did. They basically say you play freely, you rush when you want to rush, then you, unless it's a zone defense, you follow the running back if he goes out of the backfield, but you play more freely. But yeah, J-Rock, I'm not gonna lie, I was laughing because I hear all these Steelers fans burning PQ for all these years, and now they're hyping both Wilson, which they probably were talking that he was trash last year, and now PQ. So go ahead, J-Rock.
I mean, the Russ Wilson thing I can see because Russ Wilson is hot and cold. He's on and off. He has those streaks where he looks good, and then he has those streaks where it's like, dang, that's Russ. So it's like that's understandable. So, like I said, when it comes to that signing, I think we got the better end of that deal. I'm glad that the Broncos was willing to pay his bill, pay his tag, and then ship him on over because we'll take him. Especially with now that we really only had one quarterback on the roster, which was Kenny, and we still need another one. So some things are still on the table with that, but I'm glad that we was able to get him the way we was able to get him, and then be able to kind of use him, the system and the timing that we have him. I mean, he's a good rollout quarterback. Of course, we know that's what new OC likes to do. And he can throw the ball down the field to George Pickens. That's what we need. So I think we're gonna get a few more weapons offensively with the receiver, especially with letting go of Deontay Johnson to help him out. I think he's gonna get acclimated, like you said earlier. To if he don't like the tight ends, he's gonna learn to like them, because I mean that's kind of like our strong suit at this point, running that 12 personnel. So we're gonna have to use them tight ends, and I mean we got a good running game. So. Now with the PQ, I'm not sure who you heard talking bad about PQ, but
not now. Come on.
Solid. Now I know
was in that chair before you.
Huh?
The man that was in that chair before you.
Oh well, people are objective. I mean, people, had their own person.
And I'm sure Guru threw some shade at Patrick.
Oh, for
like,
sure.
it had to have happened, right? Like
sure.
it just feels
way.
like something that could have happened.
I'm sure. I like to keep things on a realistic side. I mean, he's a hell of a player since he's been there. I mean, and he only got more dynamic when he got Roquan. And they were a tandem inside linebacker duo that I did not want to play against. So I mean, I'm all very optimistic about the signing of Patrick Queen, especially with him not getting the money that everybody thought he was going to get. Like I thought, it was projected for him to get around 17, 18 million dollars for wherever he went. And I think that if it was any team outside of this division, he would have got that and maybe more. So I'm glad that, Coach Tomlin wanted to raise him up and give him that little game on the sideline, tell him he wasn't a Raven, because I think it made him kind of, say, all right, cool, well, let me take the little discount. Locked him up for 3 years, and, we'll be a division rival for the next few years, man. So I think that was a great signing. We also had, I mentioned earlier, Deontay Johnson got traded to the Panthers.
Yep.
And for him, we got Dante Jackson. Speedy,
you know who he is? I had no idea who this dude was.
Speedy cornerback. He was the captain of the Panthers defense. He was a captain. But very fast cornerback. I think he's been in 7 years. And I think he's got 14. So I mean, you averaging about 2-3. I mean, not to say he's gonna lead the league and shut down one side or whatever the case may be, but I think he's a solid pickup. I think we got a good deal with also getting a 6th-round pick for him. So what we didn't get, with Deontay Johnson or what we're having to try to make up, well, I think we're gonna be able to draft. And we got a couple extra picks. So, I think we did a decent little pickup so far. I've been hearing from a little birdie. We got some other moves on the rise, but I can't really, get too deep into it. But they're gonna be some good ones too.
What position is it at?
Yeah. Just the position.
I'll say both offense and defense.
Okay.
Offense and defense, but I mean, it might make you sick. I ain't gonna hold you.
It might
know
make
it's
you
coming.
sick.
I know it's coming, bro. I know it's coming, man.
The con out is cooking, man. I'm trying to tell you.
Can you spill the beans, Ace? If you heard anything since J-Rock cannot.
Thank you, God. Jonah Williams is gone, baby. Let's go. Let's go.
Where he going? Oh, Arizona. Cardinals.
Thank you.
Damn. Myles Garrett's favorite sled, man. I can't believe he gone.
He's protecting the blind side now of Kyler Murray.
Good luck, Kyler.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Because Kyler's left-handed, right?
No, Kyler's righty.
Kyler,
Okay.
right? He just over
That's
middle.
how Joe Burrow got hurt. Watch your back.
Yeah. He's stuck out there. Jonah Williams gonna give it up, boy.
Day, man.
Q Ace, what do you think about the Steelers move?
I think the Russell Wilson one, it makes sense on the surface until you kind of dig into like what they actually run as a scheme. Like Russell Wilson was actually a better fit for the previous game that they actually ran with the Steelers. He's not really a guy that likes to throw the ball over the middle of the field, and that is what Arthur likes to do. So I think that the scheme fit itself is interesting. It makes sense to them from a financial standpoint because you just got to pay them the minimum, right? Like Denver's paying them all of the money. So I think for them, that was a good move from that standpoint. I'm kind of cautiously waiting to see how it plays out scheme-wise. And then I think Patrick Queen, anytime you can take a player, as long as they're a pretty solid player, a pretty good player, from a division rival, that's always to me like a bonus because you're weakening someone in your division and then you're also adding to the strength of your team. So Pat Queen, I think I was low on Pat Queen. Obviously, he had a good season last year, so I was definitely wrong about that. It'll be interesting to see how he can do on his own. Like, obviously, when Roquan got there, that helped kind of bring some stability to his career, and that kind of allowed him to ascend. Now, without someone like Roquan there, can he kind of grasp it and be the guy? But I thought, like, I was kind of shocked that it happened. I was like, whoa, he's going to the Steelers? Like, that's like, I assumed it was going to be like the Seahawks or something like that. But I think so far, the Steelers have made some good moves. Deontay Johnson, them moving on from him, but getting a corner, like J-Rock said, and Dane Jackson, I think was a good move. But, you know, the rest of that room at the wide receiver position, what are they going to do there? Because they did move on for Chase Claypool. They moved on now from Deontay Johnson. I assume that Tyler Boyd is probably going to be on his way there because he's from the area. So we'll see how it works. But George Pickens and Russell Wilson is going to be very interesting to watch this season.
By the way, some Flacco news. He is expected to sign with the Colts.
The Colts.
Cute.
Oh, he's signing with the Colts.
Yeah, that's what it says.
The Russell Wilson thing to me, it's one of them things that sounds great on paper in March. But then you live it with it and you realize why somebody is paying that man $39 million to compete against you. There's a serious problem there, right? Like, look, this isn't it didn't work out. We were trying to get out the money. This is not even a smart way to go about it if they were just trying to get out the Russ deal. This was about getting Russ, the human being, out of Denver. That's what that move by them. It wasn't a smart cap move. It's not going to help them in the future. It's going to handicap them for this year and next year. This is like if you don't like Russ's play, okay, you make a move down the line. You don't do what they did. They did this because they don't like him. And you know what? It's not the first team to feel that way about him. The team he won a championship with felt that exact same way about him, to the point where we're like, we'll give Geno Smith a shot. We'll trade you. We don't care. Like, we want you gone. Think about his teammates in the media. Who stands up for Russ? None of the dudes he won a championship do that are all on podcasts. None of them. Like Marshawn,
Hasten,
Richard. None of these dudes really mess with them like that. Like these are the things I'm like, this sounds like it sounds to me like Russ is the type of dude you bring in if you're trying to start a coup. Like that is a serious problem. Like two really good championship Hall of Fame coaches have been like, I don't want him in here anymore in the latter part of his career. Now, I don't know what he was doing from 2013 to 2018, but clearly from 2019 on, it's just been a different story for him. And this move tells me, like, I don't have confidence that Russ has changed. Why would Russ change? He's getting paid $39 million plus 1.2. He's still getting paid $40 million. There ain't no incentive for him to change.
39Q, because whatever the Steelers pay him,
it goes into that.
Yeah.
Either way, Russ getting paid money. He getting paid still. He don't care.
Big money, big money.
Yeah, and here's how I know ain't nothing changed with Russ. He wasn't like, oh, I'm humbled to get an opportunity to compete with the Pittsburgh. No, he dropped the video package. Wait, don't nobody do that if they think they about to compete, right? Like, he not competing. And this is the thing that I think we forget about, right? It's exciting when you sign a big name, but big names come with baggage. Sometimes that baggage is good. Sometimes that baggage is bad, right? Derrick Henry's baggage. There's part of it that's not good, but I think the part of it that is good is he's Derrick Henry. Teams aren't going to cover you the same way if he's on the field because he's Derrick Henry. Like Miles has baggage where it's like, it don't matter how Miles is playing. They're going to cover Miles a certain way. Russ has baggage, and it's not good baggage. It's all bad baggage. It's like people come into it feeling how they feel about Russ. Obviously, like, I don't know. I'm not in that locker room. There's something. There is something to this, like, nobody likes Russ stuff. And I don't know if it's the quirky stuff. I doubt it's that. I think it's the small stuff. I think it's that you can't reach out to him. I think it's that if you do have a problem, like you can, I don't know, but there's people, his teammates don't like him. That's a problem because he's still Russ, which means if he starts for the Pittsburgh Steelers, he ain't gonna follow no plan that Arthur Smith about to try to roll out there for. He's not about to run somebody else's offense. Russ thinking we about to play Russ ball, right? Because I'm still Russ.
Then Russ Cook.
Yeah, like Russ ain't about to say. Russ has had too much success to be out here thinking that he about to do something different. He's too old for that shit. Like he didn't think he was going to have to adjust for Sean Payton.
Mm-hmm.
He not about to adjust for no damn Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith got no clout to him. Like, that's not going to happen. So those two, that's not going to work. Either you're going to play Russ ball or you're not. And remember what I said this about Pittsburgh, right? When Ben came back for that the last couple of years, it was like, the issue is he's still Ben Roethlisberger. You're throwing the ball 45 times. Like, we can live in a dream world where you think that they're finally going to just throw the ball 25, 30 times a game and run the ball. But that's not how that works when you sign a name like this. You sign a name like this, he's going to throw the ball a lot. He's going to be a big part of his offense. And is he an upgrade over Kenny Pickett? Sure. Yes. Statistically, he's much better than Kenny Pickett. Resume-wise, he is. But is his effect on the offense going to make the Steelers a better team?
Yeah,
that's where I wonder, because this means you're taking carries away from Najee. You're taking carries away from Jaylen Warren. You're taking carries away from a team that really needs to run the ball to be successful. And you're going to throw the ball to a wide receiving core that does have George Pickens, but just traded away their second option. So I trust Mike Tomlin to a point. But where I absolutely don't trust Mike Tomlin is figuring it out on offense, because that Steelers team has struggled to figure out anything on offense since Big Ben has retired. And hell, even when Ben was there the last couple of years with Randy Fichtner, they didn't really figure it out. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I can't sit here and be like, oh, He didn't figure out Bennett the last couple of years. He couldn't figure out Kenny Pickett, but he gonna be the dude that fixed Russ when Pete Carroll and Sean Payton done tried and failed with that. I don't see it happening. Now you can say you could just cut Russ, and that is technically possible. You can't just cut Russ, but he's Russ, right? This like when the Browns cut Odell Beckham, it did not matter that Odell Beckham had not been peak productive at that point. It was huge news. Why? Because it's Odell Beckham. Same way if like something happens, Odell Beckham doesn't get a target in the game for the Baltimore Ravens last year. Why are we throwing the ball? Because that's the baggage that comes with Odell. You cut Russ, that's not just going to be you cut Russ. That's going to be a national story. It's going to be a big headline. Here's my one saving grace for this move. Maybe the Steelers did this to bring the locker room together. We all heard the report. The locker room was not coming together, was not all in agreement. And maybe they signed Russ to be the villain that unifies everybody behind Kenny Pickett, right? Like maybe this is what their plan is. We going to bring somebody y'all hate so much that you have no choice but to come together. Yes. Maybe he introduced a coup just
conspiracy theory.
Yeah, because other than that, like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
The Steelers locker room also is very I feel like has been fragile in the past couple of years. And Russell, you might be right, Q.
I'll just say this: I can see 5 ways this can work out for Pittsburgh. I can see 1,000 ways it doesn't, and it's low risk. You might just move it. Maybe this is what Pittsburgh needs because like a situation like this could blow up to a point where you might just do a full rebuild. And I think they do need to do a full rebuild in order to get over this hump that they found themselves running up against, which is like 500 or slightly above 500. But if you ask me, like I wasn't a fan of Russ over the last couple of years. This year, like, hey man, there's something to a team being willing to pay you $80 million to go away. That is damning. That is really damning to the person, because if this was just a football issue, they would live with it. But this is clearly something bigger than that to them.
J-Rock, last word.
Yeah, all I can really say to that, that was a nice monologue. That was a nice thing about Russell Wilson and his inability. I think that Russell Wilson has the ability to come in and bring the leadership that we didn't have, and it's more so based off his pedigree, and the things that he's able to do and the things that he can do, as opposed to the things that we have. And I think that was the reason why he was brought in. I don't think that he's significantly so much better to where it's Super Bowl bound. But I think that, like I said, last year we was a QB away from being 13-3. Like I said, going down the stretch on a 3-game losing streak, we had Mitchell Trubisky, and then we had decent to subpar play from Kenny. So I think if it's a step above Kenny, I think we can really only go up from there. So I think that really that's the main point of Russell Wilson being there and being able to kind of galvanize that team in a way that Kenny Pickett can't. So I mean, like I said, with the other moves and stuff that we're making, I think this is a chess move and not a checker move with Russ, and I think that we was able to get him at such a cheap price that even if it doesn't turn out, I mean, we can always go back to old faithful, old Kenny Mitts. Oh, many Mets.
Okay, so we have a couple super chats also for the people that were wondering. Flacco signed up to $8.7 million, $4.5 million guarantee. Jonah Williams 2 years, $30 million, $19 million guaranteed.
Overpay.
Yeah, he definitely overpaid. Definitely overpaid.
What did they give Jonah again?
230, 19 guarantee.
230?
Yeah.
No.
Like 2 years, 30 mil.
Two over 15?
19 guarantee.
They gave him 15 over 2?
Yeah.
To a player the Bengals were like, here, play somewhere?
Yeah.
People just throwing money because they got it. Like
I saw somebody give Jordan Elliott 2 years, 10, and I was like, wow. Wow.
Gridflow here says Browns still mid, 0 division titles, 1 playoff win.
Okay, buddy.
And then Elite Dragon says PQ was bad without Roquan. Glass Steelers got him.
Can we also like investigate? Maybe like Roquan wasn't the sensei to Pat Queen. Maybe Pat Queen just got better because he got older and smarter and like knew what he was doing more often. Like I think Roquan was a part of that, but like to say that it was just Roquan that made him good, I think is kind of silly. I don't even think Roquan would agree with that analysis.
They hate us, bro. They hate us.
No. But look, I'm here somebody that has criticized Patrick Queen when he wasn't good with us
in his first 2 years,
him, right? Yeah. But even the problem was what I think it was. He was out of position, right? He was not a Mike strong middle linebacker. He was better on the weak side, more free linebacker, and that's where he excelled. And when Rowe came in, he will have the opportunity to do that because he changed like that. Like as soon as Roquan Smith came, boom, you can see the change. And I think more than anything was the position that he was allowed to have when Roquan was there was as a free guy. Let me see ball, get ball, right? And I think that's the best version of Patrick Queen.
That's what they're going to actually do in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, if you're gonna ask him that, he's gonna be good. He's gonna be good. Okay, so Ray Rack here says Rappaport put a late splash for us on the Jonah signing tweet. LOL.
Splash.
And then we have Jeff here says, hey, if Cam Hayward and Coach T are advocating for Russ, I trust he will succeed. Pittsburgh organization ain't Denver or Seattle.
It ain't that different. Hold on, time out. Pittsburgh's organization has not been that different from Denver and Seattle. You can argue that Seattle's been a much more successful organization over the last few years than Pittsburgh has been. Like, what is this? Pittsburgh does not have this anymore. They had Najee Harris complaining to the media last year. They got George Pickens subtweeting every other week. You got Deontay Johnson punching the backup quarterback in the locker room. What are we talking? This is not the most stable environment. This is not 2006. We got Joey Porter in here in leadership Pittsburgh Steelers. This is who's the leader of the Pittsburgh Steelers right now? Is it Cam? That seems to be debated.
It's definitely Cam. It's definitely
Cam. Minka?
Minka? I would have thought Minka.
The fact that we're debating this is the problem. Like this we out here talking about bringing in Russ to Pittsburgh for leadership. We don't see that red flag
on offense. We got
leadership in general. This dude was about to get stolen by Melvin Gordon during the game. Like, I don't know, man. It don't seem like his leadership is something that people want to follow. That's all I'm saying. Like, I think there's tangible evidence of people not wanting to fall in line with his leadership.
I may not disagree with you on that because they were advocating for Patrick Peterson, and we see how that turned out for us last year. Mm-hmm. So I mean, he was good in the learning aspect of it, but when it came to on field, he made a lot of business decisions last year, and that didn't work out too well for him. So I mean, like I said, I can't disagree, but we had to see what we get. And I mean, at the end of the day, it ain't cost us but $1 million. So
that's the one part. That's the one part. Okay, let's move on to the Bengals.
In best case scenario, he is terrible for you and like tanks you, and then you get a first round pick like in the top 5. You get to get a quarterback next year.
So you never know.
Bengals signed Geno Stone, traded Mixon. And the biggest news I think right now floating for, and unless I might have missed something, is the whole T. Higgins thing. I know I see a lot of Bengals. Yeah, I see a lot of Bengals fans.
For Justin Jefferson?
I see a lot of Bengals fans, debating, are we going to trade him? Are we going to keep him? And all that. I will say this for Geno Stone. Again, another Raven that went to another divisional opponent. Geno Stone was our backup safety. We drafted him in the 7th round out of Iowa. Love that pick. The problem with our fan base and probably your fan base is we draft a guy, and my criteria for drafting, first round picks, you have to make an impact. Second round pick, you have to be part of a rotation. Third round pick, you have to be at least special teamers, right? And then from the 4th out, and year 3 is when you see if you have something with these players. Year 3 or year 4. But Smith took his minute to develop. But in the past 2 years, people might think it's just this last year. Past 2 years, he did really good when the spots that we had to put him in. And his best attribute is in the center field. He's not fast. That's not his trait. But he can dissect where the ball is going, and he has good hands. And yes, you guys didn't break the bank. I thought it was a great signing. I'm sad to see him go to the Bengals, but I thought it was a great move by the Bengals. Other than that, Mixon, I like Moss too. I don't know how much was the savings versus how much you spent.
You said
on
like
Moss.
$2 million or something like that.
Yeah. But Mixon is, I know, it's a stapler over there and with the Bengals fan base, so that obviously stings. But Moss is a good running back. He was running hard last year for the Colts. Other than that, again, T. Higgins is the big news, so I'll defer to you, Ace.
Are you more confident that the Bengals are going to run the ball now, or less confident at how
they're not running the ball like they got Zach Moss to try to say we're going to do this committee thing, but no, Zach Taylor's not running the ball. I'm not believing it. In regards to free agency, it's been kind of a roller coaster for the Bengals. Starting off with T. Higgins. So the reason that the trade request from T. Higgins came down is because the Michael Pittman, so like literally after this was done, like literally a few hours before the tampering period started, right? So they put pressure on the Bengals to say, hey, you got all of this money, T's here, you guys can do an extension, even though you've tagged them now. So that's pretty much like his agent was playing, which I can't be mad at his agent. That was a smart thing to do, right? Put the Bengals in the corner, put the pressure on them, say that T wants to have a trade request. So that's how it started, right? So things kick off. And at first, the Bengals just brought back two guys that nobody's going to really say anything about. Drew Sample, a blocking
Drew Sample, I forgot about the Sample 3-year deal.
They brought back your boy. Who thought he was going to get a second contract with
my boy Drew Sample. They bring him back. And honestly, for the first day, it was a little bit like of people like wondering what's going to happen with T. And that's why you're starting to see kind of the Jettas thing come up, because a lot of Bengals fans feel like you could offer T, you could offer a first-round pick. You might be able to offer a pretty good package for him. Where it becomes a pipe dream for me is if you're not willing to pay T. Higgins, 23, 24 and guarantee that second year, because that's what this whole holdup is about. They want the second year guarantee because he's a mullet-getter guy. That's why Calvin Ridley just got that much money, like $50 million guarantee. Yeah. Like they're gonna make sure that you get 60% of that contract.
That's the new Rosenhaus. You get scared as hell when you hear that. That's your. By the way, Texans, watch out.
Right. Yeah. So I would say it started off shaky, and then Geno Stone makes a sense for a bunch of reasons, right? Like all Bengals fans, we kind of downplayed the loss of Von Bell and Jesse Bates, and it came back to bite us in the ass last season. The safety position just didn't have veteran presence, didn't have any communication, ended up leading the Bengals to a season where they gave up some of the most explosive plays in the league. And as a result of that, the guy that they drafted, Dax Hill, was kind of put under a microscope, and a lot of people came away from it as, I don't know if Dax Hill can play deep safety. Like, I know that he's a pretty good, because he's kind of a Swiss Army knife. He can play in the slot as a corner, but he did not do good at deep safety. And so when they brought in Geno Stone, this is a guy with ball skills, a guy that can play the deep safety, like Sonny said. He's not a guy that they're not looking for him to be an athletic guy. They're looking for somebody that can be a deep safety. They found something in Jordan Battle last year. They finally released Nick Scott, which I was happy to see earlier, because Nick Scott didn't work. They pivoted to Jordan Battle, who actually was pretty good as that box safety. He was solid, but they needed to find someone opposite of him just in case Dax Hill wasn't that guy. And I think that they got it in Geno Stone. And then they end up getting the running back, Zach Moss. The Bengals have kind of wanted to go and shift to this kind of committee thing, and they haven't been able to because Joe Mixon has kind of been the workhorse. They had Chase Brown in there last year. They got some stuff out of Chase Brown, but because they don't run the ball that much, there wasn't much to really kind of split up between those guys. To me, like Mixon, still had something in the tank left, but I think it just came down to the money. They just didn't want to pay that money for a running back. And I'm glad that they were able to send him to a team that was, able to compete, and that he was able to keep his original contract, because when it originally happened, they just straight up signed Zach Moss and then cut Mixon. It was like literally
Yeah.
Within 10 seconds of each other, those notifications came out. And I was like, man, that's kind of crazy to do that after this running back market has happened. And you've had all of these running backs kind of sign elsewhere. I kind of thought that it was dirty. So I was glad that the Texans were probably able to reach out to them and they were able to send him to a good winning team. I think the Texans are going to get a good player. And I think Zach Moss for us just represents a complimentary running back that you don't have to pay much for. And when you're looking at the Bengals deals that they've made, Geno Stone, they really only gave him 1 year. So, like, if Geno Stone isn't the Geno Stone that he was in Baltimore, you can get out of that deal. So I thought that they got him for a very good price. The same could be said with Zach Moss. The craziest contract on this, which is like crazy, is the Mike Gesicki contract. So we all know that the Bengals have needed a tight end for a while. They've been doing this thing where they do the stopgap a year. They did it with Hayden Hurst. They did it last year with Irv Smith and got burnt because Irv Smith was not good whatsoever. Mike Gesicki is probably the best option that they've ever had. They're only guaranteeing like $800,000 in this contract for Mike Gesicki. They're literally giving Mike Gesicki for $800,000. Like, it's a 1 year, $3.5 million deal, but only $800,000 of it is guaranteed. I've been told that Joe Burrow was a part of trying to recruit him to the Bengals. So I thought that that was a good move. But the other thing that you've seen is players leaving in free agency, right? They lost Cheeto. I don't think that that's a huge loss for them because Cheeto kind of was the third corner last year. DJ Turner kind of ascended and took that spot. So I think that we were all looking forward to that happening. And honestly, I'm glad that Cheeto, in a year where he ended up coming off of an injury, he's able to actually get good value because he has that connection with Brian Callahan in Tennessee. So he's able to go there. Jonah Williams walks away. I'm not worried about that. The biggest thing right now that's going to say whether or not this Bengals free agency is successful is going to happen in the trenches, and most notably DJ Reader. We're talking about it. DJ Reader is the reason that the Bengals are able to run the defense the way that they can, especially out of the nickel package, because it's almost like having, like Joe Goodberry said, 12 players on the field because he's supposed to take up 2. Without DJ Reader right now on this market, I'm not seeing a replacement. Unless they do this in the draft with T'Vondre Sweat or something like that, they're going to have a huge hole there. There's also a hole at 3-tech in terms of the defensive tackle. So that's something that I'm looking to see them solve. Obviously, with Jonah Williams gone, right tackle is a position of need. I'm not too worried about it. Like, if they do make a signing, I could see them going after Mekhi Becton. But right now, this is a draft, as we all know, that's full of tackles. So I'm not really sweating the tackle position. So I think the Bengals were able to eliminate their need of a deep safety, tight end, and they got a running back that allows them to be running back by committee. And they've got a chunk of change, a huge chunk of change still left over, which people are trying to figure out what's going on with this money. Some people have said they might look into a Reek Armstead or something like that. I don't know if they're going to make a trade. So I like the free agency so far. However, I've been kind of critical on them. Like, hey, if you don't sign DJ Reader, you literally don't have a replacement for him. It's not like a situation like it was before, where with Jesse Bates, you already had Dax Hill on the roster. They didn't draft anybody to play nose tackle. They currently do not have a nose tackle. And I know some people don't care about nose tackle, but it's when you just saw Derrick Henry signed to the Baltimore Ravens, and you just saw that Arthur Smith is going to be with the Steelers, and he likes to run the ball, and you already know Cleveland's going to run the ball. You cannot get away with not having a nose tackle there. So outside of them not, replacing the nose tackle, it hasn't been – it's been a pretty solid free agency. The T. Higgins thing is interesting. You can't play hardball with Mike Brown. At the end of the day, especially how things are going, I think that he's going to end up playing on the franchise tag. I don't think, unless they get blown away by an offer, and when I say blown away, it has to be a first-round pick, I don't see them trading T. I think that they're going to keep him and stuff like that. And it also opens the door for a double tag, just because the double tag money would actually be less than those 2 years guaranteed that T is actually looking for. So they could potentially let him play on the tag this year, tag him again, and trade him next season for better compensation, because he is coming off of a down season where he had injuries and stuff like that. So that's the way that I kind of see it playing out. But so far, I think Bengals fans are happy with free agency, except for the DJ Reader thing, which should sort itself out tomorrow once he takes that visit to Detroit.
So with T. Higgins, my biggest concern or the thing that I see with T is the money that receivers are getting. You think he should be getting more than Calvin?
Yeah.
So Calvin just got 25, 50 guarantee, right? 25 per year, roughly 50 guarantee. So he's probably looking for like 60-ish guarantee, which will be a little bit more.
What makes it interesting is Michael Pittman is also a Mulligetta client, or who is at least under that same agency.
Yeah. He got 375, right?
Say that again.
He got 375, Pittman.
375. I don't think he had an average salary of 25. I think he was at like 23 or something like that. He still got 60. I think it was a 2-year deal or something like that for him. That to me is what T is gonna probably try to mirror. Sheldon
370. 370.
Is that happening? My bad. I'm seeing people in the comments say that, but Sheldon Rankins is coming to the Bengals. So the Bengals are closing in on a contract agreement.
Yeah.
A good move for them. But I think with the T situation, you're looking at that Michael Pittman, and you have to also look at Calvin Ridley. But I would argue that Michael Pittman is closer to T Higgins than Calvin Ridley is. I don't know how. I don't know. That Calvin Ridley deal is kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
But the question is, with Ridley's deal came after Pittman, right? Like if Pittman would have waited after Ridley, he probably would have got more.
Yeah, but in that situation, the Bengals aren't going to pay that. They're just going to stick with the franchise number, which I think is about $21 million, and they got that extra bump from the cap space going up. So they kind of actually got the T Higgins kind of money with that happening, and they were able to still have about $50 million after that.
Sheldon Rankins.
Yeah, I like Sheldon Rankins. He's more of a 3-tech. Like I said, if they don't get DJ Reader, they have an open and glaring hole at nose tackle.
Yeah. So the other thing you were saying about the trade, we saw Burns, the guy from the Panthers, highly productive edge rushers, which he got paid. Got paid, but because teams are probably looking at him like, oh, I still have to pay you and trade for you. He got what I think was a cheap deal on the compensation, which was a second and a fifth. I'm not sure if you get a fifth. I'm not sure if you get a
first. The thing, because you got to do the deal too, so that weighs into it as well. But then you have situations like AJ Brown, which I will say Titans AJ Brown, not Eagles AJ Brown. Before we saw him become arguably a top 5 receiver, I think he was kind of similar to T Higgins at this point. He was like viewed as a top 10 to 15 receiver, and they were able to get him off in the draft for the 18th pick before he signed that deal. So it's real interesting to see how this will play out. If they do move T, I think it's during the draft. If not, and like I said, if they do, it's going to have to be that they're blown away. I actually thought the Titans would be the team that would be able to convince Mike Brown to part with T, but apparently they're going in another direction.
Okay. Hugh, J-Rock, what do you thought about the Bengals moves?
Yeah, we're solid. And they didn't really do too much. I mean, like the tagging T Higgins thing, we all kind of knew that was going to happen. The double tag will be interesting because that's still going to be, is it 22 now, right?
Yeah, it's probably near 30, right?
No. Next year is going to be, I think somebody calculated it, and it would be like 48 million. Like between the two, so it would be like
between 2 years. I thought you were about to say 48 for the year. Who's getting paid that much?
Like 50 million guaranteed. So the double tag would still be under that threshold. He's looking for at least 50 million guaranteed.
Yeah, we'll see. Because like again, that's a game you could play on paper, but in practice, it becomes very difficult. It becomes a game if you got the stomach for it, right? Yep. So we'll see how that plays out and what they can turn that into. But, I mean, the Bengals roster, is pretty set. Like, they don't really got to go out there and make big splashes. I think that's something that we all need to remember during free agency is that some of these teams don't need to make giant splashes because they already were good. The Bengals definitely on that list. So, yeah, I ain't really got much to say about it.
J-Rock.
Yeah, I think the Migos is about to say adios. Because like you said, you just don't have the money for it, man. But I think they did decent. Like Ace was speaking on. I don't think that Zach Taylor really wants to run the ball. I personally, if I'm GM or if I'm coach, I don't get rid of Joe Mixon and go get Zach Moss. I mean, Zach Moss had a good year last year, but to me, it seems like a downgrade with what they had last year and what they should or could be trying to do with the run game.
Please say that again for the Bengals fans in the back.
Yeah, that's
an upgrade, and I was like, all right.
No, I mean, Zach Moss isn't no slouch. I mean, so I'm not going to, give it to him like that. But, I definitely think that, like I say, if I'm a coach or if I'm GM, I don't get rid of Joe Mixon to go get him. Same thing with Tennessee. You don't get rid of Derrick Henry to get Tony Pollard. But hey, who am I? I definitely think that the best pickup, like Ace was speaking on, was the Mike Gesicki pick. Definitely think that he's going to be a big weapon for y'all next year, helping with getting that ball out with the Migos that are left, in the city. I think that they're going to be able to rock out, and I think Mike Gesicki is going to be a good hand in it. Geno Stone, good pickup. I think that he was decent, and I think that he was able to excel last year with the Ravens just off of the strength of the Ravens not having too many weapons. I think that, everybody who knows football at least knows that the AFC North was probably the most beat up, injured division in the league, especially on the defensive side. So I think he made the most of his opportunities. I think he led the team in interceptions, right, Sonny?
Gino did. Yeah, if not, yeah. As far as I knew, he would.
Yeah, I'm about to say I know he was up there for a while, but I don't know if he wound up, ending the year like that. But yeah, good pick, man. I think that they, like I said, those two picks, Geno and Gesicki, was the better picks. Zach Moss, I probably could have did without. But the Bengals are the Bengals. I think offensively they're going to do well. So we'll see.
Q, I know you had to go, so give me your take on the Ravens, and then I'll go after you.
Yeah. The Ravens had an interesting offseason free agency period here because they gave Justin Madubuike the big bag.
Which,
once they did that, you knew it was like that was the final nail in the coffin for Pat Queen coming back. So you knew that was going to be something, and they went after Derrick Henry, which is an interesting move, right? I mean, this is a team that Lamar Jackson's led the team in rushing yards since his MVP year. So it's been a while since somebody else has led the team in rush yards. Maybe this is a move to make them run the ball more. Todd Monken, I don't know if the fit is great with Todd Monken, how he likes to run the ball and how Derrick Henry likes to run it. Derrick Henry, he's a big guy, but he's not an up the middle run stuff Jerome Bettis type. He's more of a downhill, get going, pick up speed and hit him at an angle, kind of a wide zone guy, similar to Nick Chubb. And I do worry about how long that play style can exist if he's getting older, because if he can't accelerate fast enough, then he becomes significantly easier to tackle because that's his advantage. But he was fine last year. I expect him to at least be fine for this year. And I think that's really what the contract's for, right? They really want him for this year. And maybe he's the piece that they feel like puts it over the top. I still think Baltimore should get more active in that wide receiver conversation, right? Mike Williams just became available. Hunter Renfrow just became available. So maybe they're interested in that. But if they just Nelson Aguilar, bring back Odell Beckham and kind of just run it back, I don't know if that's going to be.
I love that. Go ahead and run it back.
Yeah, I think they really if they're going to commit to throwing the ball downfield, Mike Williams makes a ton of sense, right? A 50-50 ball guy if he can stay healthy. But we'll see where they go with that. But yeah, I didn't expect them to go after Henry. I thought that, Keaton Mitchell coming off the ACL, we'll see how he does. But they've been able to have good luck finding these running backs. Where they've had horrible luck is with health of these running backs. So, we'll see. But to be fair to the Baltimore Ravens, before I head out, while I'm not the biggest fan of the signing, I will acknowledge that the M&T Bank Retirement Home has done well for over 30-year-old patients before. And boy, oh boy, is Derrick Henry primed to have one more good year, right? That's the M&T Retirement. I don't know if it works for running backs because it kind of worked for reverse.
No, think about Freeman. Freeman came here, he balled out.
Yep.
Right? They wanted Freeman. He get 800 yards.
So I do worry about the fit, but Baltimore got that deer atlas spray that they can spray on them joints to make them last for extra years, right? But I gotta head out. Y'all have a great one.
Take care, man.
Right, be safe out here, man.
I have a couple super chats, and then we'll talk about this. QAB getting this one for Q. Khalil Khalil Mack, as far as I remember, he restructured. So he's looking to restructure. So it looks like he's staying. Are we keeping Chubb? There's no way they not this year. There's no way they're cutting Chubb. We're trading him. Geno is the next Josh Bynes. Only played well for us. We'll see. Look, I like Geno Smith too. I'm wishing him to be great against every team minus the Ravens. With AVP, who was AVP in New England? Picking some ex-Browns will that make them a trade partner for the next couple of years? What the F is AVP?
I was thinking the same thing. I don't know what that is.
Professor Chaos, you don't have to super chat it. Just tell me who AVP is. We'll figure that out. Alex Van Pelt.
Oh, Van Pelt.
I don't know.
Van Pelt, I know who that is. You talking about the quarterback coach?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know who that is.
So he's saying, would that trigger? I don't know. I don't know if that would trigger any more trades because he doesn't have that.
I've had him as like a quarterback coach. He was Aaron Rodgers' quarterback coach. Aaron Rodgers is a huge fan of him. He's not bad. He's pretty decent. I think he's also, like Ray Rags is saying, he was the Browns' old offensive coordinator.
Yeah, no. But what I'm saying is, the question is, would that trigger them to bring any of the offensive players for the Bengals? I don't know if he had. No, sorry for the. I'm sorry for the Browns. Sorry.
Browns.
I don't know. I don't know if he has that clout, right? Like, I don't know if he has the cachet yet with the Patriots. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it's an interesting one. Okay, so going back to the Ravens, like the Ravens signed Henry. Most people were jumping out, right? And it might be an unpopular opinion for the Ravens. People are saying Ravens are in a Saquon. I was like, nah, we ain't gonna pay that. Jacobs, you're not paying that. And then when Eckler signed, I tweeted like, if we get Henry to similar deal that Eckler got, I'm okay with that. But Henry got about $1.5 million more per year than Eckler. I don't hate the signing, but like Q, I want to wait and see how this fit goes. If this gets fitted well, and Henry can run explosively, it's gonna be trouble for the rest of the teams, right? Like who you gonna pick to tackle, and then if Lamar keeps it, now the receivers will have more space. Like this has the potential to be deadly.
Yeah.
But it's still potential. The question is, can it happen? I don't know. I want to wait and see. The other thing, Malik Harrison, like that's in-house, and then we also got Marabike. He got the bag. I also said with Marabike, when we signed him, I was like, shit, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for a guy that has progressed, but took a big step, but has progressed from year one. It's not like he had nothing and then progressed, right? And then if he keeps progressing, great. Then after thinking that, I saw the signing of the rest of the D tackle market, and Marabike deal doesn't look bad now. Like I see some stupid money for D tackles out there. Not talking about Chris Jones, but we're talking about Wilkins got a bunch of money, and Marabike statistically had better years than some of these guys, right? Leonard Williams, Wilkins, and some others. Then the other thing that has not been talked about from other franchises, we traded our right tackle, Morgan Moses, to the Jets. We needed a cap, right? So we'll see. They might go with Fahalele. Fahalele looked decent for a game on the right tackle side. He cannot play left tackle. So with Stanley, they actually got a pay cut or pay reduction. And how were they able to do this with Stanley was, we're gonna give you this pay reduction. I think Stanley was supposed to make like let's say 16, right? I don't remember the exact number, but let's say 16 million. So I think he's gonna make, again, let's say like 12 or 11. But the idea is if he hits some incentives, he can not go back to 16. He can go, I think, to like 20. So he can make more if he hits the incentives but for now it was a pay reduction. So that was interesting. I think it's fair, seeing that Stanley's has some injuries in the past couple of years. So you guarantee him some money instead of cutting him, but you're saying you can recoup this money if you hit the incentives that they haven't been disclosed yet. So fairly quiet. We'll see. I think there's some players out there that they can target. I would like the Mike Williams one will be interesting. He gets hurt a lot. That's the only thing that I don't like about Mike Williams. But the Ravens chop in the bargaining department. The other one is Clowney. They're talking about with Clowney. Apparently Carolina is thinking about Clowney too. We can't compete with Carolina. Carolina right now has a bunch of money, right? Like Carolina can just say, "Here's Clowney. He's some stupid money." But if Carolina doesn't give stupid money, I think we could get him. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Ace?
Yeah, I mean, to me, the biggest thing is keeping Matabuke and signing Derrick Henry. Like, you already kind of knew it was going to be far-fetched to keep Geno Stone, Pat Queen. So that was kind of expected, right? Like, we expected those moves to kind of happen. Yep. And I agree with Sonny. I think the read option is completely dangerous. Now, you guys know I've always, on the ranking shows, I've always said, well, the Ravens are good because of the scheme, but they don't have that guy. They have that guy now. D-Hen is that guy. That's the guy that's run for 2,000 yards before. It's extremely scary to see him and Lamar Jackson together. The read option is going to be dangerous. Any and everybody is going to have to account for it. And the reason that I feel like it works in the new scheme is we still saw their coordinator run the ball last year. Like, it wasn't like, yes, they were throwing it more, but they still ran.
They were balanced. They were balanced, minus the playoff game.
Except in the playoffs. But I had to get that one in there. But no, it is a great signing. To be able to keep Justin Matabuke is also a great signing. So they're able to keep that core together, which is extremely impressive because, you know, other teams like my Bengals, we haven't been able to keep all of the core together. So the way that Baltimore is able to do this is interesting, and they're making it work. So I think for Baltimore, like Sonny is saying, they can bargain shop and see what's out there, maybe find a receiver like he's saying. But I think they're having a solid free agency.
J-Rock.
So I'm gonna be honest, man. I really don't. Not that I don't like it, but I would have to kind of give it like a mid grade. I think you know anywhere from C to C minus on this free agency so far. Just because.
Why you hating, J-Rock? Why you hating?
No, I ain't here. So Derrick Henry is a great pickup for anybody, especially for the deal that you got 2 for 16. I think with the option to get up to 20, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So with that being said, still any team would love to have Derrick Henry at that price. The problem comes when you trade away one of your best offensive linemen for draft picks, not knowing kind of like what you're going to get with that. It's kind of like a mixed bag. I mean, you know, offensive line, I would say probably quarterback, cornerback, offensive lineman are the top 3 positions in the draft that you kind of have to, you know, pray and hope for, you know, as far as the progression of the player.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're ready, you know, from playing in the college to the NFL. So definitely don't think that was well thought out and well prepared for. But then again, I'm not, you know, in the GM office, you know, with them. I don't know what kind of tricks they got up their sleeve with that. But I mean, obviously, Derrick Henry's a beast. So, I mean, I think he's going to do good. Of course, the game between him and Lamar, you're never going to know who's going to have the ball. And then, you know, if it comes to running, you know, Baltimore does. Baltimore runs it. They still got Keaton, right?
Yeah, but Keaton's probably going to start in the pup.
Yeah, so he is going to start in the pup.
Because remember, he got his ACL late in the year.
Dang. Yeah, so I mean, hopefully he gets better, but that's going to be kind of like your change of pace type thing that's going to break that run game up. If not, it's going to be a 2-man show between Lamar and Derrick Henry. I think that you know, of course, you know, you got to watch for Zay, but you know, when it comes to the other signings, I mean, I think you just got too much money tied up in your defense. I mean, you're paying Roquan all that money, you're paying Matabike all that money. Who else you gonna pay to get in there decent. And I think that right now that they're struggling with finding decent corners. And finding, I mean, you had Kyle Hamilton back there at safety, but who else is really going to kind of step up and take that?
No, the backup safety. No. Gino was the backup safety.
Right.
Marcus Williams and Kyle, the safety position for us is set, right? Marcus Williams tore his Ace. You're muted.
Are you trying to say that Kyle Hamilton isn't going to be able to play in the slot? Is that what you're alluding to, J-Rock, because they don't have Gino?
Kyle Hamilton going to have to be back there. He's going to have to be playing catcher. He going to have
no, because that's what Marcus Williams plays. No, that's what Marcus Williams plays. If you think about Marcus Williams, not last year, the year before, he had like 5 picks in the first like 6 weeks, and then I think he missed like 4 or 5 games. And then last year he tore his pec, right? And he started playing with one arm. Like he was not basically one arm down, jumping, batting balls. Mm-hmm. I hated the play because he will go there and try to tackle people with one arm, and I hate the one arm tackle. And Gino, I think he missed like 4 or 5 games. Gino played great, right? And we were using a 3 safety look a lot of the times where Gino also was playing great. By the way, this is not me diminishing Gino. It's just saying the Ravens safety thing is more handled than people might think. The corner situation, that's another story. Steven is back, and he had a great year. Okay. Is Marlon ready to not be injured? Right? That's a big question.
This might be Marlon year, though. Remember I said Marlon has a good year. Every other year, Marlon has a good year.
So. Are you saying that, J-Rock, because you felt like, and I remember we made a joke on here that Kyle Hamilton was mostly playing nickel corner last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's what he's saying. Like, if you don't have the 3 safety, unless you bring another safety in, is he going to play box safety or is he going to play nickel corner?
He can't just afford to just be in the box. He got to be like he was.
He might play. See, the thing with Kyle is they have used him all over the field. Sometimes he goes play center field. Because you have Marcus Williams as your center fielder, which is hard to find. Mm-hmm. You can get away with a box-ish safety. Those are easier to find. I'm not saying it's easy. It's just easier to find, right? Bad would be that you don't have a center fielder.
Especially in this market, because all the safeties got cut. So you got to find another safety.
For sure.
Personally, I'm just saying I think that they tied all their money up into the front 7 and the line. I mean, you obviously at this point now you got to replace your other middle linebacker. You gotta focus on that. And I think that if you go do that in the draft, that'll be a lot to expect from a young player.
It was already addressed. That's the thing. PQ last year when we drafted
Trent Simpson.
PQ tweeted like sheesh. Like he knew what was that move. Right? Mm-hmm. Middle linebacker that looks a lot like you. He was like, This is it. This is me. This is my last year here, right?
Another person's body.
Yeah, this is me next year. Right.
No, I'm talking about DBs. I'm talking about.
Oh, I thought you said the linebacker.
I thought you said linebacker.
No, I'm saying you got to replace them, but I mean,
but that's my point. I think the Ravens think they have the replacement in house. DBs is a question, right? Yeah. DBs is a question for sure. Especially, we do have because Darby was great for us last year, and we don't have Darby. Darby signed too, right? That's another guy we lost. But I don't know. Well, we'll see. There's going to be some moving parts for this team, right? O-line, if you tell me, right, it's the biggest question mark, right? I'm surprised that nobody here, because I guess I also forgot to bring it up. The O-line for the Ravens right now is in disarray. Mm-hmm. If we want to keep it 100, right? Like, Stanley's back, okay. And then you have your center back and Linderbaum. But your left guard just signed with the Jets.
All right.
Your right guard's out there, Zeiler, right? And Morgan Moses got traded. So that, you have right now 2 out of your 5.
It's kind of crazy.
Right? Exactly. So I'm surprised nobody brought it up. Now, the Ravens usually try to plan ahead. So we have Ben Cleveland. He's going to be a 3rd year. I think they have him to be slotted as one of the guard position. We have Voorhees that we drafted last year. And we had Salas that we drafted last year. I think those 2 are going to compete for another guard position. So I think the guards are taken care of. The right tackle position, they drafted 2 years ago a guy named Faalele. a guy that I criticize a lot.
love him.
A guy that I criticize a lot. In the left side, if every time he has played in the left side, it's like if you put me there, right? I'm just there looking at the guy, admiring him, and let him pass, right? But on the right side, I will say, and he was a right tackle, he put some effort, or he put some resistance, is the right word. But even if all these guys at the end pay out, it's still gonna be a question mark because you're talking about 3/5 of your O line is new. There's no going around that unless somehow you bring Zyler back, which I don't think they're trying to. But 3/5 of your O line is back or is new, and that could be problematic. That is the biggest question. Corner is a question. I agree. You can even claim receiver could be a question, but definitely O line is the big. You know I love trenches. That is definitely the question.
That was my only real reason for giving that grade. I think that instead of getting Derrick Henry, even though you didn't spend so much money getting him, that effort could. I mean, you're right. Baltimore can run the ball, so I mean, it's never been a question. Probably in the last 10 to 15 years that they can run the ball because they draft well, and then they just make these picks that you like. Where does this guy come from? And he wind up, leading the team or leading, doing well. So I just think that they could have focused on, their offseason so far and other places, like you said, namely the offensive line and DB. With that being said, so that's the only reason.
Okay, so Ray Rag here says the thing that will concern me for Henry is that he has been below 4.5 yards for 3 straight years. I don't disagree. Also, look at the quarterbacks he had, right? Like Tannehill, last couple of years, not great. And that also affects you, right? Like I can know all I have to do is stop the run. I dare them to pass. They don't have the receivers. Anyway, Mighty Mulatto here says, how will Wilson and Townley be different from Sean Payton? We alluded that Mighty Mulatto early in the stream, but
you got one's a player coach, one isn't. At the end of the day, I think that Sean Payton really had a thing to where though that wasn't his quarterback anyway. And I think, obviously their styles didn't match. So I think it's going to be different when you get somebody who wants to be a dictator as opposed to taking what you have and making it work for the team.
Yeah, I also think if Wilson, the question for me is more, does Wilson want to play next year? Now, forget about if he wants to play with the Steelers. Does he want to play next year? Because if he comes with shenanigans, he's out of the league. Because that will be Seattle. That will be Seattle. That will be Denver. And that will be Pittsburgh.
I'm telling you, man, him and George Pickens going to be going to have a hell of a season together.
I think he's going to be in best behavior. That's what I think. Anyway.
Ask Jerry Jeudy, man. Ask Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, that's fair. Ronald here says, Ravens brought in Derrick Henry just so they cannot run him in the AFC Championship game. I thought we were friends. I thought we were right now in a good moment. Before we close it out, shout out to Adam Holland, Dam Gusula, Luis Cousin, Leo Sell, Ray Rat, Wesley World, Christian Rob for being top tier Patreon. As you see, guys, right now, we don't have any current sponsor. So we appreciate all your patrons. If you want to support us, the Patreon, also super chats, also liking, subscribing, and sharing our content. We almost at that 10K mark. Let's make it happen. Thank you, everybody, for joining this live stream. We're coming back next week. Mock draft season is upon us, so you will see mock drafts coming up in the live stream. So make sure you put that bell so you know when we're coming live. Thank you all for joining the live stream. We'll see you next time.